So I'm going to be sharing 4 specific tips with you so that you know when it's a good time to drive versus when it's a good time to drop in pickleball. Tip number 1 comes from a very common misconception. I've heard this from when I first started playing all the way up until now. I hear it all the time from players to coaches. And that is that if the ball comes in short on that third shot of the rally, you should swing away. You should drive that ball every single time. And that's not true. It actually depends on one specific thing, and that is the height of the ball. If the ball comes in short and high, then we want to drive, because we can hit downwards on the ball, or we can at least hit parallel. We can apply pressure on our opponents. Whereas if the ball is short and low and we swing and drive that ball, we can only hit upwards because we have to hit it above the net. So since we hit it upwards, there's only 2 options. Either A, we're going to hit it directly to the strike zone of our opponents where they're comfortable and they can hit downwards on that ball, put the ball away. Or B, we're going to hit it past the baseline. We're going to hit the fence. So therefore the point's automatically over. All that they have to do is move out of the way because we have to hit upwards on the ball. Even if we're hitting with tons of topspin, it's going to be really difficult to keep that ball low enough over the net that we apply any pressure on our opponents. So it's not going to make sense to drive it. When the ball is short, we want to think of this. This is something that will help you to remember, is if the ball is short and high, we want to swing a Y. So we put on an Australian accent, okay? Swing a Y when the ball is short and high. That'll help you to remember that. If the ball is short and low, we want to keep it slow, meaning we're going to drop the ball. By the way, the sponsor of this video is Selkirk. If you guys are in need of any paddles or gear, I cannot suggest them enough. Absolutely love their paddles. They just barely came out with the new Halo series. This is one of the paddles. They look absolutely sick and they have tons of spin. They're raw carbon fiber. So be sure to check them out. I will link them in the description. I'll also link them at the top of the screen. You can use my code ADV-Playbook and you'll get a free e-gift card after your purchase. So check them out. Tip number 2 has to do with analyzing where our opponents are standing in the court, because that can help us decide whether to drop or drive. One of our opponents is going to be on the kitchen line and the other opponent's going to be behind the baseline because they had to return the ball. If we see that they're late coming in, that's an opportunity to drive. So we want to remember, if they're late coming in and they haven't made it past mid-court, that's the standard to use, mid-court, we're going to drive that shot. The reason for that is because we can still get it at their feet. Even if they hit a magnificent return, we can drive it and get it at their feet because they don't have enough time to get forward into an offensive position. So that opponent that's running forward, if they haven't made it past mid-court, drive the ball. If they have made it past mid-court, drop the ball. The reason for this is because the closer that they get to the net, the more opportunities that they have to hit downwards on the ball. Whereas the further away you get from the net, the less opportunities you have to hit downward on the ball. So obviously in pickleball, the best strategy is to get up to the net so that you can hit downward on the ball and hopefully put the ball away. Tip number 3 has to do with the actual spin that our opponents give us. So there's 2 types of spin in pickleball. There's top spin and there's underspin or backspin. There's obviously multiple types of spin, but those are the 2 main ones. So starting with underspin, if our opponents hit the backside of the ball and they cut under the ball, they're creating all the top spin that we need. And so what we need to do is make sure that we aim high enough to compensate for all that top spin that they gave us. A very common mistake that I see so many players make is that they'll hit that shot into the net because they didn't compensate for all that top spin coming at them. So they have all this top spin and then they end up hitting and aiming for the same spot and they'll hit it into the net. So what you need to do instead is aim 2 to 3 feet above where you normally aim. Common mistake is that players will actually aim for a spot on the court. If you aim for a spot on the court, that's great and you'll probably hit that spot. But the problem is that you're not taking into account the net. The net will be in your way if you just aim for that spot on the court. Instead, you want to aim for a spot in the air, and then that spot will automatically put it into a spot on the court. That way you're hitting above the net and you're hitting it into the court. So make sure that you aim 2 to 3 feet higher because they're already giving you all that top spin every single time that they hit underspin. Whether or not you should hit a drop or a drive comes down to what you're more consistent at. If you're a more consistent dropper, hit a drop, but make sure that you compensate by aiming higher because they hit all that backspin at you. And it's the same with a drive. Make sure that you compensate by hitting a little bit higher whenever they hit underspin on the ball. Topspin, on the other hand, has a tendency to make the ball float because it's coming topspin for me, but it looks like underspin for you. And so because of that, it causes people to hit the ball a little bit higher than normal. So instead of aiming lower, just aim in your normal position and chances are you'll be able to hit a pretty effective drive or drop at your opponent's feet. The 4th and final tip has to do with whether or not we drive or drop the ball when it comes deep. Okay, and that also comes down to the height of the ball. If the ball is high, we're going to swing away. So we have to put on our Australian accent again. If the ball is deep and high, we swing away. We're going to be driving that ball because we can not only hit down on the ball, we could also hit parallel on the ball. We can create offense and put pressure on our opponents. Does that mean that you have to drive it every single time? No, you can obviously change it up, and you should change it up. But majority of the time, it's going to be optimal for you to drive that shot. And then you probably guessed it, but if the ball is deep and low, we want to drop that ball majority of the time. And the reason that we want to drop that ball majority of the time is because we have to hit upwards on the ball. Okay, since it's below the plane of the net, we're going to have to hit upwards on the ball. So it's going to make more sense to drop the ball and try to get it at the feet of our opponents and then move forward to a more optimal position. And in a nutshell, remember, if the ball is high, we swing away. If the ball is low, keep it slow. Also, this video right here goes into detail on how to hit jack socks forehand. I know you're going to absolutely love it, so be sure to check it out, and I'll see you on the next one.